Hello everyone, my name's Stonesy Boy, and welcome to the final episode of Scythe. I punched the mic, I'm sorry. Today we'll be reading chapter 30, or chap 40, page 426 to 435. So, I think that's only 9 pages. Really sad, been in love with this book, made me come back. So, without further ado, and with no learning corner of the day, it's gone. The corner itself it's actually gone. Not on my OBS anymore. Without further ado, let's begin. Chapter 40, The Ordained. Hello, Citra. It is good to see you. Hello, Rowan. Will the candidates please refrain from speaking to each other and face the conclave, as said Xenocrates. The whispers and mumbles from the gathered Scythe seized the moment both Citra and Rowan faced them. Never before had such silence fallen over the assembly hall. Rowan smiled slightly, not out of amusement, but out of satisfaction. The two of them, side by side, commanded an undeniable gravity that would silence 300 Scythes. Whatever else happened today, Rowan would have this moment. Citra maintained a stoic facade, refusing to let the adrenaline flooding her system reveal itself on her face. The Bejewelling Committee has studied your apprenticeships, Scythe Mandela announced to them, although it was meant to more the entire conclave. We have reviewed the performance on all 3 of your tests, the first 2 of which you both failed. With the extenuating circumstances both types, clearly your instinct has been to protect each other. But the Scythedom must be protected first, at all costs. Hear, hear! Shouted one of the Scythes in the back. The committee's decision is not made lightly, continued Scythe Mandela. Know that we both of you the fairest consideration we possibly could. Then he raised his voice and louder. Candidates for the Scythehood, will you accept the judgment of the Mid-American Bejewelling Committee? He asked, as if it were possible to accept their decision. I do, Your Honor, said Citra. So do I, Your Honor, said Rowan. Then let it be known, said Scythe Mandela, that now and forevermore Citra Darova shall wear the ring of Scythehood and bear the burden of all the rings entails. The room erupted in cheers, not just from their obvious supporters, but just from everyone. Even those who were sympathetic to Rowan approved of the committee's decision. Or in the end, it was support that Rowan have on the Scythedom. For those who admired Goddard despised Rowan, and only who have given Rowan the benefit of the doubt were already rooting for Citra. Only now did it become clear that Citra was all the more ordained the moment Goddard and his disciples would perish in the fire. Congratulations, Citra, said Rowan, beneath the roaring approval of the crowd. I knew you would do it. She couldn't even respond to him, couldn't even look at him. Scythe Mandela turned to her. Have you chosen your patron historic? I have, Your Honor. Then take this ring I hold out to you, and put it on your finger and announce to the Mid-American Scythedom and the world who you now are. Citra took the ring, her hands shaking so much she almost dropped it, slipped it on her finger, the perfect fit. It was heavy on her finger, and the gold setting was cold. It was quickly warmed by her body heat. She held her hand up and had been ordained candidates do. I choose to be known as Scythe Anastasia, she told them, after the youngest member of the family Romanov. She gathered Scythes turned to one another, discussing a choice among themselves. Miss Terranova, said Scythe Blade Xenocrates, clearly not pleased. I can't say it is an appropriate choice. The Caesars of Russia were known more for the excess of their contribution to civilization. Anastasia Romanov did nothing built on her short life. Exactly why I chose her, Your Excellency, Citra said, holding eye contact with him. He was the product of a corrupt system. Because of that, she denied her very life, as I almost was. Xenocrates bristled the slightest bit. Citra went on. Had she lived, who knows what might have been done? Perhaps she had been changed to war and redeemed her family name. I chose to be Scythe Anastasia. I vowed to become the change that might have been. The High Blade held her gaze and held the silence. Then one Scythe rose and began applauding. Scythe Curie, then another joined, and another. Soon the entire Scythedom was on her feet, in an ovation with newly ordained Scythe Anastasia. Rowan knew they had made the right decision, and when she heard Citra defend her choice of the patron historic, he admired her more than he ever did. Were he not already standing, he would have risen to his feet in ovation as well. Then, as the accolades died down and the Scythes were seated, Scythe Mandela turned to Citra. You know what you have to do. I do, Your Honor. What method do you choose? Blade, she said. So many of my trials have been to be by blade. Just this one should be no different. And of course the tray of knives was ready and out of sight. It was now brought in by a junior Scythe who had been ordained at Harvest Conclave. Rowan watched Citra closely, but she did not meet his gaze. He looked over the tray of knives, finally setting on a nasty-looking bowie knife. I used this one to kill my brother yesterday, Citra said. I swore I'd never touch one again, but here I am. How is he? Rowan asked, finally. Citra looked at him There was fear in his eyes, but also resolve. Good, thought Rowan. Let her be decisive about this. It will be quicker. He's in revival, she said, with a hot fudge sundae on the order for when he wakes up. Lucky him, Rowan looked at the grand elegy of Scythes. At this moment, less of a conclave or more audience. They're waiting for a show, Rowan said. Shall we give it to them? Cedra nodded slightly. In a sentiment that heartfelt and true, Rowan said, It's been my honor to be gleaned by you, Scythe Anastasia. Then Rowan drew his last breath and prepared to accept her blade, but she wasn't ready to strike just yet. Instead, she looked at the ring in the other hand. This, she said, is for breaking my neck. Then she drew her fist back and punched him in the face with such force, nearly knocking him off his feet. A collective gasp came from the crowd. This was something they were not expecting. Rowan reached up to feel blood spilling from the huge gash in the ring had cut across her cheek. And then finally she raised the knife to glean him. Just as she was about to thrust it into his chest, a shout came from the rostrum behind him. Stop! It was a parliamentarian. He held up his own ring. It was glowing red. So was Citra's, and Rowan looked around. He knew he would see every size ring within 10 yards emanating the same warning glow. He can't be gleaned, the parliamentarian said. He has immunity! A roar of outrage came from the conclave. Rowan looked at Citra's ring, which was now covered in his blood. It was transmitted his DNA to the immunity database, even more effectively than he had kissed it. He smiled at her in awe and absolute amazement. You're a genius, Citra. You know that, don't you? It's an honest life Anastasia to you, she said, and I don't know what you're talking about. It was an accident. But there was a twinkle in her eye that said otherwise. Orders! Yelled Xenocrates, banging his gavel. I demand this conclave come to order. The Scythes began to calm down, and Xenocrate pointed an accusing finger. Citra, miss, that is... Scythe Anastasia, you have blatantly violated the Soda of Edict. I have not, Your Excellency. I was fully prepared to glean him. It was your own parliamentarian who stopped me. It never occurred to me that hitting Rowan would gain him immunity. Xenocrates looked at her out of disbelief, and then suddenly released a guffaw that tried to stifle but couldn't. Sly and artful, he said, but just enough plausible deniability. You'll be doing well among us, Scythe Anastasia. Then he turned to the parliamentarian and asked the options he had now. I suggest you imprisonment for a year until his immunity runs out. And there's still such a place where a person can be officially imprisoned? Asked one of the other Scythes. And then Scythes around a Besame hall began to shout the suggestion, even some offering to take Rowan under house arrest, which could be good or bad depending on their motive. As it began to dissolve into debate over Rowan's immediate future, Citra leaned into him and whispered, There's a tray of knives next to you and a car waiting for you at the east exit. She leaned away, relieving his future firmly in his own hands. She thought he would be impressed by her. He had just proved him wrong. I love you, he said. Same here, she responded. Now get lost. He was a wonder to watch. He took 3 blades from the tray and somehow managed to wield them all. Scythe Anastasia made no move to stop him, but even if she had, it would have been no use. He was too quick. He held himself like a fireball down the center aisle. Scythe closest to him leaped into action, tried to stop him, but he kicked and spun, sliced and flipped. No one would get a hand on him. To Scythe Anastasia, she seemed some deadly force of nature. As the Scythes in his way, the lucky ones had their robes sliced. The less lucky ones found themselves with wounds never been saw inflicted. One Scythe Emerson, she believed, would be requiring a trip to the revival center. Then he was gone, leaving Pandemonium in his wake. As the High Blade began to regain order, Scythe Anastasia looked at her hand and did something that was very strange for Scythe to do. She kissed her own ring, setting just the slightest bit of blood, Rowan's blood, on her lips, even enough for her to remember the moment forever. The car was waiting, just as Sidra said. He thought it would be a public car, but not even that he would be alone. Neither was the case. As he hopped in, he saw the ghost in the driver's seat. After all had been through the day, it was the moment that merely made his heart stop. Good evening, Rowan, said Scythe Faraday. Close the door. It's positively Arctic outside. What? Said Rowan, still trying to wrap his mind around the moment. How are you not dead? I could ask you the same question, but this time is of the essence. Now please, close the door. So Rowan did, and they sped off into the frosty Fulcrum City night. Have we ever had an enemy worse than ourselves? In the age of mortality, we warred ceaselessly with one another. When there was no war to be made, we beat down on the other in the streets, our schools, our homes, until war turned our gaze outward again, placing the enemy at a more comfortable distance. But all such conflict is a thing of the past. There is peace on earth, good will toward all humankind, except, that's the thing, there's always an exception. I haven't been a Scythe for so long, but I can already see that the Scythedom is in danger of becoming what exception, not just here in mid-America, but worldwide. The first Scythes were true visionaries, and saw the wisdom of continuing to cultivate wisdom. They were understood that the soul of the Scythe needed to remain pure, free from malice and greed and pride, but filled with conscience, however rot grows in the sturdiest of foundations. If the convenient conscience of the Scythedom fails, replaced by the Erebus privilege, we could become our own worst enemy again. And to complicate that, new wrinkles are being added to the fabric of the Scythedom every day. Take, for instance, the latest rumor, in which months since I was ordained has spread beyond the Scythedom and was whispered among the general population. According to a rumor, there was something about seeking out corrupt, despicable Scythes, and ending their existence by fire. One thing is for certain, he's not ordained Scythe, and yet he still have started to call him Scythe Lucifer. I'm terrified that might be true. I'm more terrified that I might want it to be true. I was never my desire to be Scythe. I suppose that might be a good one. I don't know yet, because if all I knew, I would still have much to learn. For now, I must give all my attention to gleaning with compassion and conscience, in hopes that it will help our perfect world stay perfect. And if ever Scythe Lucifer comes my way, I hope he will see me as one of the good ones, the way he once did. From the Gleaning Journal of H.S. Anastasia. And that's it. That's Scythe. Scythe by Neil Schusterman. An incredible book. I've read it. This would be the second time I've read it. The first time I read it, I think I was in my childhood home, and book was good. Book was good then as it is now. Kind of showed me the error of my ways at that age because it told me that anyone could do anything they really set their mind to it. I guess that's a good lesson here. No matter who you are in life, no matter what your background is, if you're just a kid who splats for fun or a girl who can barely stick around in school, you could become the most important or least important person you decide. Because in the end, no one controls our lives except ourselves. I think that's a good lesson to leave off with this book. No learning corner. It's gone. I mean, seriously, it's gone. There's no more learning corner. Um, I mean, I wish I could be more straightforward than that. As a matter of fact, can be. Here, look, it's gone. Just reading. It's just the reading book now. So, yeah. Hope you guys have a fantastic, wonderful day. Be polite. Be efficient. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you around.